A large Tampa car dealership abruptly closed its doors today, leaving already frustrated customers wondering what to do next.
You know, I've been noticing something lately. There are some really solid Japanese cars out there right now, sitting on lots, priced low, barely getting any attention. And honestly, it doesn't make much sense. Because from what I've seen over the years, these are the kinds of cars that don't come back with problems, the ones that just keep running without draining your wallet. But for some reason, people keep overlooking them, and instead, they end up buying something that looks better on the surface. And then the repair bills start showing up, the insurance creeps up, and before long, it costs more than they expected. So what I want to do here is simple. I'm going to walk you through 8 Japanese cars that most people are overlooking right now, and why that could be a costly mistake if you're trying to protect your money and avoid headaches. And I know what you're thinking. This is going to be another Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V video, but it's not. It's actually the complete opposite. I'm talking about the Japanese cars you're probably walking right past without even noticing. The ones sitting there quietly, even though they're the ones that will last you the longest and cost you the least over time. And if you think you've already seen the best Japanese cars out there, wait until you discover the ones almost nobody is paying attention to, because by the end of this video, you might realize you've been overlooking the smartest Japanese cars all along. We're beginning with the Acura TL, a gentle kind of luxury. You might look at the Acura TL and think this is going to be expensive to own, and I understand why you'd feel that way. It's a luxury car. It looks sharp, it drives smooth, and usually cars like that come with higher repair bills. But this is where things are a little different. What most people don't realize is that underneath that Acura badge, this car is very closely related to a Honda, and that changes everything when it comes to ownership. I've seen quite a few of these over the years, and what always stands out to me is how reasonable they are to maintain. A lot of the important parts are priced more like Honda parts than luxury car parts, and this is where it really starts working in your favor. Because you're getting that quiet ride, the comfortable seats, and the solid build quality without the kind of repair costs that usually come with a luxury vehicle. Now, I do want to be upfront with you about a couple of things. First, this car does require premium fuel. Over the course of a year, you are probably looking at a few $100s more compared to a regular gas vehicle. If you are watching your monthly expenses, that is something you need to factor in. Second, there are certain years you want to be careful with. I usually tell people to stay away from the 2009 and 2010 all-wheel drive models. I have seen those come in with oil consumption issues, and sometimes it turns into much bigger repairs than people expect. But if you stick with the right years, this can be one of those rare cars that gives you a little bit of everything. Comfort when you are driving, confidence in how it is built, and most importantly, costs that stay manageable over time. Let's continue with the Toyota Avalon, the quietest smart decision.
Price of new cars has hit a milestone.
What's driving car prices higher?
You might be looking at something like a Mazda CX-5 or a Honda CR-V right now. And those are good cars, no question. But here's what I want you to understand before you make that decision. The Toyota Avalon is built differently. Under the hood, you're getting a larger, naturally aspirated V6 with a traditional automatic transmission. That setup is simpler and more durable compared to the smaller engines and CVT transmissions you'll find in most CR-V models. And that matters to you, because those SUV setups can be more expensive to fix, especially when transmissions or AWD components start having issues. From what I've seen, the Avalon stays straightforward. Basic maintenance, fewer surprises, and no common high-cost weak points. At the same time, you're getting a much more comfortable ride. It's quieter, smoother, and easier on you, especially on longer drives. Now, there are a couple of trade-offs. You'll use a bit more fuel, and you don't get the cargo space or higher seating position of an SUV. And on older models, you should make sure the oil line has been upgraded. But if your goal is simple, to avoid expensive repairs and keep ownership easy, the Avalon does that better than most SUVs in this price range. Let's continue with the Lexus ES 350, smoothness without the cost. You notice the difference in this car the moment you start driving it. It's quiet, it's smooth, everything feels effortless, and that's something I don't see in most cars at this price. What you're getting here is a 3.5-liter V6 paired with a traditional automatic transmission. No turbo, no CVT, nothing complicated. Just a drivetrain that's been used for years and proven to hold up. But where this really separates itself is how it feels to live with. When I see these come in, it's usually nothing serious. Basic maintenance, normal wear, and that's it. You're not dealing with the kind of problems that turn a comfortable car into an expensive one. And that matters to you. Because this is where people go wrong. They buy something that looks newer or more modern and then end up dealing with transmission issues or higher repair costs later. The Lexus ES 350 avoids that. You get a smoother ride than most SUVs. Less noise, less vibration, less fatigue when you're driving. It's just easier on you, especially over time. Now, there are a couple of trade-offs. Fuel economy is lower, and you don't get the space or higher seating position of an SUV. But if what you care about is comfort, simplicity, and avoiding expensive problems, this is one of the few cars that actually delivers all three. Let's continue with the Honda Fit. Bigger isn't always better. You might think this car is too small to work for your needs, but this is where most people get it wrong. The Honda Fit is designed around space efficiency. With the rear seats folded, you get over 50 cubic feet of cargo space, which is surprisingly close to what some compact SUVs offer. That means you can carry more than you expect without paying for a bigger vehicle. And that matters to you, because compared to something like a Mazda CX-5 or Toyota RAV4, you're getting usable space without the higher purchase price, higher insurance, and higher running costs those SUVs bring. The drivetrain is simple, a small, naturally aspirated engine with no turbo and no complex systems. That keeps maintenance straightforward and reduces the risk of expensive repairs. Fuel economy is also significantly better than most compact SUVs. While a RAV4 averages around 30 miles per gallon combined, the Fit can reach the mid-30s in real-world driving, which lowers your day-to-day costs. And this is where it really benefits you. Lower fuel costs, lower maintenance, and fewer components that can fail. That combination is what keeps ownership affordable, especially if you're watching your monthly expenses. Now, there are a couple of things you should check. Rust can be an issue on older models in colder climates, and early model years had a minor electrical issue with the gauge cluster. But overall, if your goal is simple, keep costs low, avoid expensive repairs, and still have practical space, the Fit does that better than most SUVs people are choosing instead. Let's continue with the Mazda 6. The real value people miss. You don't see many people shopping for this car anymore, and that's exactly why it works in your favor. The Mazda 6 gives you a simple, proven setup. A naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine with a traditional automatic transmission. No turbo, no dual clutch, no extra complexity. And when you compare it to something like a Kia Sportage or Hyundai Tucson, you're avoiding more complex systems. Those SUVs often come with dual clutch transmissions or newer tech that can develop issues over time, especially as they age. The Mazda 6 keeps things straightforward. From what I've seen, it doesn't have a pattern of recurring problems. Owners aren't coming back with the same issues over and over, and that's what keeps your costs steady. Fuel economy is also strong for its size, so you're spending less day-to-day compared to most compact SUVs. And here's another advantage. Because this car was discontinued, demand dropped. That means you can often buy it for less than it's actually worth, even though the quality hasn't changed. Now, there are a couple of things you should check. Avoid the turbo engine, since it has known issues that can get expensive. Stick with the standard 2.5 version. And if you live in an area with harsh winters, check underneath for rust. But overall, if your goal is simple, keep things reliable, avoid expensive repairs, and not overpay, The Mazda 6 does that better than most of the SUVs people are choosing instead. Let's continue with the Mitsubishi Outlander, the one everyone ignores. You're probably not even considering this car, and that's exactly why it deserves your attention. The Mitsubishi Outlander is built around a simple setup: a naturally aspirated 2.4-liter engine, no turbo, and a straightforward design. And that matters to you, because compared to something like a Subaru Forester, you're dealing with less mechanical complexity. Subaru uses a boxer engine and full-time AWD system, which adds more components and can increase long-term repair costs. The Outlander keeps things simpler. From what I've seen, it's easy to live with. Basic maintenance, no consistent pattern of expensive failures, and parts that are generally affordable. You also get something the Forester doesn't offer: a third row. It's not large, but it gives you extra flexibility when you need it. That's a practical advantage if you ever carry more people or need that extra space. On the road, the Outlander is also tuned more for comfort. Softer ride, less harshness, and easier daily driving, while the Forester tends to feel a bit more rugged. Now, to be fair, there are a couple of trade-offs. The Forester does have slightly better reliability ratings and resale value overall, and the Outlander's CVT transmission needs proper maintenance. Regular fluid changes are important if you want to avoid problems. But here's the key point for you. If your goal is to keep things simple, avoid higher repair complexity, and get a practical SUV for less money, the Outlander gives you that. Let's continue with the Subaru Legacy, where simplicity wins. If you're looking for something practical and comfortable, this is one you should seriously think about. The Subaru Legacy gives you standard all-wheel drive with a simple, naturally aspirated engine. No turbo, no hybrid system, just a straightforward setup. And compared to something like a Lexus NX, you're avoiding extra complexity. The NX often comes with turbocharged or hybrid powertrains, which add more components and increase the chances of higher repair costs later. The Legacy keeps things easier to manage. You're also paying significantly less upfront. In many cases, the difference is well over $10,000, and that's money you're not losing to depreciation. On the road, the Legacy feels more stable and controlled than an SUV. It sits lower, handles better, and gives you a smoother ride, especially on longer drives. From what I've seen, these cars stay consistent when maintained properly. No pattern of major issues, and ownership tends to stay predictable. Now, there is one thing you should keep in mind. The CVT transmission needs regular fluid changes. If you stay on top of that, you avoid the most common problems. But overall, if your goal is to keep things simple, avoid higher repair costs, and still have all-wheel drive and comfort, the Legacy gives you that without paying for a luxury SUV. Let's continue with the Toyota Prius. This is what saving looks like. You're deciding between something practical and something that actually keeps your costs down. And this is where the Prius stands out. It's built differently. No traditional starter, no alternator, no conventional transmission. Those are common failure points in most cars, and this one simply avoids them. That's part of why it has a strong reputation for long-term reliability and fewer repair issues. Compared to a Mazda CX-5, the biggest difference is fuel use. The Prius can use nearly half the fuel in real driving. That's money you're saving every time you drive, not just once in a while. You're also dealing with less wear. Regenerative braking reduces brake replacements, and the hybrid system puts less stress on the engine. Now about the battery. In real use, these often last well beyond 150,000 miles. And when replacement comes, there are more affordable options than most people expect. There is a trade-off. You don't get the space, power, or higher driving position of a CX-5. But if your goal is simple, spend less, avoid common repairs, and keep things predictable, the Prius does that better than most cars in this price range. At the end of the day, what all of these Japanese cars have in common is simple. They're built to last, they keep things straightforward, and they don't ask for more money than they should. When you look at these Japanese models, each one does that in its own way. The Acura TL gives you comfort without high repair costs. The Toyota Avalon and Lexus ES 350 focus on long-term reliability and smooth driving. The Honda Fit and Mazda 6 keep things efficient and practical. The Mitsubishi Outlander and Subaru Legacy give you utility without adding too much complexity. And the Toyota Prius keeps your overall costs as low as possible. So, the real question for you is simple. Are you choosing something because it looks good today, or because it will treat you well over time?